What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another topsy-turvy day in the world of Malamarkets, where we discuss the Pokemon trading card game market as it relates to buying, selling, and trading cards. And today, we have a little bit of what I would consider to be a hot topic, or at least, or some of you are going to listen to this and be like, well, duh, yeah, Vince, that's totally right. And some of you are going to be a little bit shocked to hear this, I think. But today, we're going to do a little bit of a hot take market watch and talk about how I think that Rebel Clash is going to be an excellent long-term investment. That is right, Rebel Crap, the the set that I've affectionately referred to for the past year and a half or so, whatever it is, as Rebel Crap or Rebel Crash or Rebel what have you. I actually do think it's going to end up being a good investment. Now, in terms of investing, usually when everybody is rushing in and trying to do something, that's usually the time to kind of step away and not follow the herd. And on the flip side, when everyone is kind of avoiding something, well, maybe that's a good time to get in and buy too. That's not a complete rule that, you should follow every time, but that's kind of a general rule of thumb when it comes to investing. Trust me, I'm a YouTuber. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, when it comes to investing in my own personal stuff, I do a little real estate, some other stuff as well. And I believe it's actually from Warren Buffett who says this. If people are, when people are flying into something, that's usually a time to kind of back away, because not necessarily that it's not popular, but it's just not going to be as good from an investment perspective when the demand is super high, whereas when the demand is low, that's where you see more of the potential for the return. So I'm going to explain why, and actually I have my dear trusty PSA 10 Rebel Clash Malamar VMAX here, and I've been praying to this Malamar in particular, on Rebel Clash, so this is exactly how I know that it is going to be a good investment. No, I'm just kidding. But first and foremost, what we're going to do here is talk about why you think I'm crazy and why, and I understand where it's coming from, that you might think offhandedly that Rebel Clash will not be a good investment. And then I'm going to go through some data and some numbers to show you why I think that's actually not the case, and kind of do some comps at the end too to compare with some older sets to why I think this set is actually going to be a good long-term investment. So, getting specifically into why you're initially balking at my reaction, Rebel Clash was not a very popular set. Totally agreed. It was not that great when it came out. Actually, if you look at the best cards to pull in there, the number one card, I believe, is Boss's Orders, which is selling for about $40 right now per TCG player. Good card, and a lot of the top cards are really more so playable competitive cards that you would see in the game. So that's why there's a little bit of it's not really a super collectible set. What's in there besides obviously this Malamar, which is the greatest card of all time, the Super Stunky. But even if you look beyond Boss's Orders and some of those other trainer cards that are great for competitive play, debatable on the collectible side, the best Mons are the 4 secret rares that I put on the screen here too. They are Cinderace, Rillaboom, the other Dragapult is obviously in there too, and Inteleon, of course. Those rainbow rares are all selling at about $23 each, again, per TCG player. So why, Vince? Why do you think that this is going to be a good set based on how low and non-collectible some of these cards are at their best right now? Well, let's get into the data and you will find out. First, we will jump into this framework. Now, I've shown you all this before when we did a little bit of an ETB analysis, but essentially we will use this to look at Sword and Shield, all of the sets besides Celebrations, and kind of compare the volume and the demand for each set. This will give us a little bit of a feel for, obviously, demand and how much people want it. Will give us an idea for how high the price should be, and then obviously how available it is will affect the supply. So, for Chilling Reign, Battle Styles, those obviously not very high demand sets. Didn't really have some great chase cards, but that is around when printing volume caught up. So there's a lot of those available. Sword and Shield base set, on the other hand, kind of at the beginning, right before the pandemic. Base sets tend to be popular in general in each set, but, demand wasn't uber high at that point, so I put that somewhere in the middle. Compared to Shining Fates, Evolving Skies, Vivid Voltage, and likely Fusion Strike as well when that comes out. High demand sets, highly desirable, whether it's the Shiny Charizard VMAX, Shiny Pikachu VMAX, any of the alt arts, the Rayquazas, the Evolutions, and same with Fusion Strike with Mew. High demand, but also super widely available right now. Don't worry about where each one of these is within the square. It didn't really mean much. I kind of was just putting it in each individual square. Whereas Champion's Path And even Darkness Ablaze a little bit, still pretty desired because obviously they have Charizards, but the rest of those sets were really not that great beyond those 3 Charizards available across both Darkness Ablaze and Champion's Path. Plus, with Champion's Path not really being available in a booster, a little bit less available. They're out there, don't get me wrong, but they're not as highly printed because they're a little bit harder to find, and because they're, well, at least for Champion's Path, not available in a booster box. Versus Rebel Clash, on the other hand, which is a low demand set, but also low print volume. Chances are it's not going to be reprinted. Some Darkness Ablaze has popped up back in the market. Same with Champion's Path. Same with even Vivid Voltage recently. All of these things have kind of popped back up. You can argue the semantics of where each one of these belong, but ultimately the point I'm trying to prove is that Rebel Clash is really in that low demand and lower print volume, unlikely to be reprinted, and that is why, in particular, as we're highlighting here, I think this set is going to be more desirable in the future. It's less easy to find than some of these other sets, and ultimately it does have the starters from this set in Rainbow Secret Rare versions as well, which is why I think as a sealed product, this is going to be a great one to hold long term. And as you can see, the PSA populations here, with Sword and Shield base set being just around 10,000 graded cards at PSA, Rebel Clash, look at that, all the way down to 5,000. Now, clearly with the Charizards and Darkness Ablaze, Champion's Path, and the Pikachu and Vivid Voltage, that's why those sets are so highly graded. But look how low Rebel Clash is. It shows you, obviously, one, partially how not popular that set is, but two, it's exactly why I think it's going to do well long time, because it was very much overlooked. Keep in mind, for Shining Fates, which came out in February, PSA shut down at the end of March, so there's a lot of graded cards there, probably in backlog too, but also because they shut down, the prices went up. Really not many people are grading Shining Fates, Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, even Evolving Skies as well, because it just doesn't make sense. But that's why I think Rebel Clash, as an overlooked set, will be a good long-term hold. There you have it, everyone. That is the big first part of this analysis. And the last part I'm going to go through here is one quick comp to show you why I think in particular that the singles likely suspect, besides maybe some of the PSA 10s will do well if you got the PSA 10s at a good price, obviously, or paid at a good grading price, obviously. Now, the sealed products, on the other hand, I do think sealed is really where the investment is here. And to show a quick comparison, I'm going to compare Clash, sorry, still doing that. Rebel Clash with XY Roaring Skies. XY Roaring Skies came out in 2015. This set was not popular at all. If you talk to anyone who was into the Pokemon trading card game back in 2015, even from a collecting perspective, not a great set. The best card, I believe, was really the Shaman, which was really popular in competitive play back then. So this was good from a competitive play set perspective, but not really much in terms of collectibles. However, that said, and well, actually, that's not completely true. The Rayquaza in there has gotten some love lately, so there are a few of those in there, which has probably contributed to the rise in value recently with Evolving Skies. But if you look at a 3-month average for sealed boosters of Roaring Skies has been selling for about $371. Think about that. That if you're talking about going over retail, that's more than double retail and a little bit more than that. So this is a set that was not popular, not highly desired, and yet here we are 6 years later, and it's actually more than doubled in value as a sealed booster box investment, and the ETBs are great as well. I've done some other videos on those too, so I won't get into full detail on why sealed tends to do better in the long run. I've done some other stuff on that. But there you go. And actually, if you want to get an even further comparison between Rebel Clash and Roaring Skies, look at these 3 singles. These are the top 3 singles in Roaring Skies today and their prices on TCG Player. Obviously, all of these, like I mentioned, are Rayquazas, and those are what's most popular because that's a very popular mon in general. But those go from like $36, $32, and $20. Those are the 3 most expensive cards in this set, and yet those booster boxes are still selling for over $370 on average. That is crazy. To me, you could argue that maybe it's a little bit overvalued, but that's the power of sealed, and that's the power of doing something that, it's a little bit harder to find because it wasn't as popular of a set. So it's likely not to be reprinted, likely to be a little bit less available because people weren't as interested in collecting it as they are now that supply has also caught up as well. Keep in mind those supply issues during COVID when Rebel Clash was initially kind of hitting the market and probably contributed to its lack of popularity as other sets that were, objectively had better mons in it were more widely available. So that is my analysis and why I am very bullish on Clash long term when it comes to particularly a sealed product, especially on the booster side, booster box side, definitely on the ETBs as well. So what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that Rebel Clash is really just, not highly popular in terms of desirable mods that it's not going to raise? Or do you agree that you think as a sealed product, it is going to raise over time? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would love to have a conversation about it, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks.